The American Revolutionary War book by Jayson Marble. Pre-war, Britain passes the Stamp Act, tax on legal documents, newspapers, playing cards. Colonists rebel to have repealed, leads to confidence, may avoid future taxes. 1763 to 1765. I'm at chart. 1763. Treaty of Paris. 7-year war ends. France surrenders New World possessions to Britain. British troops land in Boston to enforce townshend duties, taxes, paper, tea, etc. Past June 1767, also champed down on radicals, patriots. 1768. 1770, Boston Massacre, clash between soldiers and a mob, leaves 5 dead. British call it incident on King Street. 1772, committees of correspondence established as action to attempt an important movement to cooperation and mutual action. 1774, British Parliament passes coercive acts, often called intolerable acts in America. British closes port in Boston, requires British troops to be housed in taverns and empty houses. During war, 1775, Paul Revere rides from Charleston to Lexington, MA, to warn that the British were marching from Boston to seize the colonial armory at Concord. The first shots of the Revolutionary War are fired at Lexington and Concord in MA. This leads to thousands of men volunteering to fight the British. This is the beginning of the Continental Army. Britain offers a proclamation to free slaves rebellious to Americans. Many seek freedom and fight for the British. Some, however, will fight for the Patriots. 1776, America declares its independence after a decade of agitation over high taxation from the British. Representatives make the break with Britain. 1776 to 1781. Many battles continue throughout this period, George Washington crosses Delaware River, Battle of Saratoga, Battle of Lexington, Battle of Cowpens, Battle of Yorktown, Battle of Bunker Hill, and Battle of Cornwallis. 1781. France became the most prominent other foreign ally to the Americans. They helped to support the wars on the sea. 1782. Loyalists leave America. 1783. Treaty of Paris officially ends the war. Canada remains a British province. 1784. The Treaty of Stanwix imposes a peace of those members of the Iroquois Confederacy that sided with the British. The war's aftermath woe. RPVE devastating to Native Americans. With no European allies to rely upon, they are published to move west. 1787. A convention of states in Philadelphia proposes the Constitution to replace the much looser central government operating under the Articles of Confederation, adopted in 1777 with amendments. The Constitution remains the framework of government in the United States. So you can see the pictures. This is Britain. And here was my free drawing with the flag. That's why I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There is 12 stars in this picture. You can also do 15 stars for the Star-Spangled Banner flag. Taxation without representation. The British Parliament taxed sugar, tea, glass, tobacco, paint, paper, and stamps and on important papers. The colonists didn't elect the parliament. Why do they need to follow the parliament? Colonists were very angry. Were angry because they did not have a say on what got taxed. They were only elected by the colonists. The British citizens were loyal to the king. Taxation was a big problem. They want to say in government. All British citizens must follow British laws. Boston Tea Party. Colonists dumped 90,000 lbs of tea into the Boston Harbor. Parliament passes the Intolerable acts and closed a part of Boston. Colonists from 12 colonies start to work together. Boston Massacre. Redcoats kill 6 colonists who are harassing a soldier. 6 more are wounded. People got angry. George Washington. George Washington was the first president from 1789 to 1797. For 8 years, George Washington, in May of 1775, they appointed Washington as general of the Continental Army. This is important to Washington because he had to fight the British together. George Washington was a landowner who didn't agree with the British rule. In 1775, George was a delegate at the First and Second Continental Congress. This was a group of patriots who decided to fight the British. George Washington became the leader of the Continental Army. In 1781, he led the army to victory over the British. Paul Revere. Paul Revere was active in the Sons of Liberty. Liberty. He was involved in the Boston Tea Party. In April 1775, the British Army was about to make their move on the Sons of Liberty and other American patriots, so Revere took a ride on his horse to warn Samuel Adams and John Hancock. Revere's warning allowed the colonists and the military to be prepared and fight off the British Army's first attack. Revere served in the American Army during the Revolution. After the war, he went back to his silversmith business. So here is the American versus the Britain. So Britain won the American Revolutionary War. Great Britain, King George III and Parliament wanted the colonists to pay taxes to pay for the French and Indian War. They wanted the American colonists to follow their laws and buy the good made in Britain. The Declaration of Independence. The 13 colonies decided at the Second Continental Congress to officially declare the independence. This meant that they were breaking away from Great Britain. On June 11, 1776, the Continental Congress appointed 5 leaders to write a document explaining why they were declaring their independence. Benjamin Franklin, John Adams, Robert Livingston, Roger Sherman and Thomas Jefferson were the 5 members. At first, not everyone agreed on declaring independence, but the agreement to declare independence ended up passing. The Congress officially adopted the Declaration of Independence on July 4th, 1776. We celebrate this day every year in the United States. So here, is the 13 colonies. The 13 colonies were made from 1607 to 1732. All right, next page. The Continental Congress. The Continental Congress was meeting of delegates from each of the 13 colonies. These delegates served as the government during the Revolutionary War. The first Continental Congress took place from September 5 through October 26, 1774. During this time, the delegates took 2 major actions. 1, they sent a letter to King George III. They demanded that the king stop the intolerable acts or the colonies would boycott English goods. The king did not listen, so the Americans boycotted. They made a plan to meet again in May of 1775 if the British did not meet their demands. The Second Continental Congress first met on May 10, 1775. They kept meeting for 6 years later. Outcomes of the Second Continental Congress were: 1, the establishment of the Continental Army. 2, they issued the Declaration of Independence declaring the United States as an independent country from Britain. They signed the Articles of Confederation, which created a real government. How the American Revolutionary War ended. As a result of the war, the 13 American states had a government that was ruled by the people. The new government was a democratic government with leaders that were elected by the people. There were balances of power to make sure that no one could become king. Battle of Yorktown. The Battle of Yorktown was the last great battle of the American Revolutionary War. It is where the British Army surrendered. On October 19, 1781, General Cornwallis signed a British surrender. Losing this battle made Britain start to think about peace, and it opened the door for the Treaty of Paris. Treaty of Paris. The Treaty of Paris was the official peace treaty between the United States and Britain that ended the American Revolutionary War. It was signed on September 3rd, 1783. Fun facts. 1. There was a secret plan to kill George Washington. 2. Some British soldiers were actors by night. 3. 200 original copies of Declaration of Independence were made. 4. Some Revolutionary War veterans had their photos taken. And 5. Last but not least, invisible ink was used to communicate top secret messages. You can see the pictures from 25 to 36. Now watch this gently so people will learn this when they're in 4th grade. Look closely in the pictures. Okay. And this is the last photo, and page 37 says the end. We reached the end. This is her back cover. Alright, 20 in 1. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you liked reading the American Revolutionary War book with me too, and I'll see you later. Thanks.